Good everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to talk about Emily Joy Hills, who is on the Mic Drop podcast and is one of my favourite podcasts to listen to, and what lessons it teaches us. So Emily Joy Hills had an extraordinary life, an extraordinarily difficult life, and then became what I consider really the modern day equivalent of a Carey. She ended up flying the A864 attack choppers in combat, and then subsequently transitioned to civilian life. Now, in reflecting on her experiences and her difficulties, there's a couple of moments which I think are really pivotal. The most important one for me is ones when she talks about how she had some struggles just fitting back in civilian life and developed some not so effective coping strategies. Now, I think it's really important to understand that even the toughest amongst us, and Emily is obviously the toughest. I mean, it's very difficult to imagine how you can survive and do the things that she did and push so far for so long. But even the toughest of us, we need to have that ability to have resilience in not just in the moment, but long term, those coping strategies that will tend to make us flexible, because we can be strong. Many of us can be strong for a long period of time, and we rely on that strength. And eventually we hit this brick wall because we push so far in a certain direction and it's sort of unsustainable. That level of pressure can only last for only so long. And in the end, as I've noticed, and as Emily kind of noticed, there's only so far your body and your mind can take you in a certain direction. You can only be tough for so long until something eventually got to give. And for her, it ended up being through some bad habits, but also just getting out of the helicopter and just having a really sore back, and literally just getting out of the helicopter and lying on the tarmac on her back, just realizing that was the end. Like her body just simply couldn't do it anymore. And this isn't a lack of courage; it's almost a lack of too much courage. We can sometimes be just so tough that we just get used to being tough, like she had, because she had such tough experiences that she found that was the way to push through everything. But we do need to make sure we are producing a sustainable path, because otherwise we just end up being tough until we eventually just give out. And I think a lot of the other thing to be aware of is there's always this psychological damage that happens to us when we do very difficult things. Now, when you go to war, like I've never been in that, but if you go to war like she has, and the reality is there's always going to be some physical weight, some psychological weight to that. And when one of her friends passed away in a helicopter accident, you could tell that there was a guilt there, rightly or wrongly. And the reality is we all feel this guilt and shame, and I don't think there's any way around that. I think that's the human condition, but we don't have to pay much attention to it. We should just accept that feeling guilt and shame is just part of the human condition, I think, for me. And we just accept that that's just a thing. We don't have to dwell on it, don't have to think about it, just have to do better next time. That's basically all it is, and I think Jocko would probably agree. So I think that really the point I'm trying to make is that someone like Emily has an almost incomprehensible amount of strength for a very, very long time and can do truly extraordinary things and performed at exceptional level, again being an attack chopper pilot, I think as we call it, of an Apache, and going to war for several tours of duty over long periods of time. You can have that incredible degree of strength, but we also need to make sure that we balance that with the ability to make that sustainable. And that's obviously something she's learned over time, and I think she's learned that valuable lesson. And it'd be great if we can all learn that without having to go through such trying experiences. So anyway, thanks very much for listening. This is actually a repeat of what I did in my previous channel. Emily was kind enough to reach out and post on that channel, which was truly amazing. So thank you for that, Emily. And thanks very much for listening, everybody. I hope you got something out of it. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.